Next, with your host, Dan Bongino.
A total, complete evisceration last night in the debate. Totally. Anybody trying to spin to you any nonsense that Kamala Harris looked competent last night in that debate is simply lying to you. Listen, I'm not trying to be some kind of objective guy. I think you all know I'm a strong, devout conservative. But Mike Pence absolutely annihilated and destroyed Kamala Harris last night. I got the evidence today. I'm going to show you the highlights of the Mike Pence's total destruction of Kamala Harris. There are 4 specific things that stuck out to me last night. I'm going to give you in a nutshell. To the debate last night, what a total mess for Kamala Harris. Again, I don't care what your partisan stripes are, your partisan affiliation. It was a disaster. She got crushed. She looked like a child on stage with the adult in the room, and Mike Pence broke every single piece of her ridiculous, extreme far-left agenda down right in front of her eyes for all of America to see. Even some of the leftist hacks had to acknowledge it wasn't the Biden campaign's best night. Let's go to piece number 1. This is Mike Pence finally calling out both the moderator here and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden about their obvious lies about fracking. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to tell you what to think. You're all smart people. You can figure it out on your own. A lot of you are a lot smarter than me. I read your emails. You're brilliant. But I do a lot of homework. And politics is what I do for a living. I'm a political commentator. I'm not telling you how to think or who to vote for. You'll figure that out on your own. You're very smart. I'm just telling you, if you are in the hydrofracking business, fracking natural gas in Pennsylvania, the Marcellus play over in Ohio, if you are anywhere involved in fracking in Texas, in West Texas, anywhere, that Joe Biden and his campaign and Kamala Harris have already committed to stopping fracking. The fact that they've seemingly changed their mind because they think you won't notice is irrelevant. When they ran on banning fracking, and I'm absolutely convinced they will ban fracking because the radical left owns Joe Biden. Here was Mike Pence finally calling her out last night on her lies. They already said they're going to ban fracking. I'll show you the proof after this cut. Play this first.
Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. You yourself said on multiple occasions when you were running for president that you would ban fracking. Joe Biden looked at a supporter in the eye and pointed and said, I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels. They have a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal, Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that very different from the original Green New Deal. More taxes, more regulation, banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Listen, don't take my word for it. You don't even have to take Pence's word for it. I'm going to play a video in a second of Kamala Harris telling you she absolutely wants to ban fracking. Listen, if you're in the fracking business and you don't like your job, then yeah, vote for Harris and Biden. Is that a good way to frame it there? But Paula's right next to me to my left. We're moving around. You can see the hotel. We moved around. We needed to change the scenery. Now she's to the left of me. But if you don't like, right? You don't like your job? If you're in fracking, isn't that a good way to put it, right? She's nodding in approval. Like you're a little confused about how you feeling? Well, she doesn't like when I randomly call on her in the middle of the show. It's hilarious. She doesn't want me turning my head. That's why, because of the surgery. I know I'm not supposed to, but I know I'm terrible with doctor's instructions. I should do better. Folks, if you don't like your job and you want to be fired and you want your business to go under, yes, vote for Harris Biden, who've already committed to it. You don't believe me? I've already played video. I'm not going to play it again of Joe Biden pledging to banning fracking, getting rid of fracking, saying he absolutely means it. Here's his running mate, Kamala Harris, on tape, again, swearing to a potential voter that she's going to ban fracking too. Again, don't take my word for it. Take Kamala Harris's word for it. Here you go.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, she said it. It's not just once. She said it repeatedly. They will commit because they're hostage to the radical left to getting rid of fracking or phasing it out. Again, their words. Don't take my word for it. Just listen to them. If you don't like fracking, you don't like cheap gasoline, you don't like cheap fossil fuels, and you want to pay more for energy, then listen, I'm just being candid. That's your candidate. Then yes, vote for Harrison Biden. If you're in the fracking business, again, you hate your job, you hate your career, and you hate your life, then yes, vote for Harris Biden. They'll get rid of your job for you. You don't even have to quit. But please don't tell me, as the media people today, that, Pence is taking her comments out of context. There is no out of context. She's crystal clear. She wants to get rid of fracking. Period. Full stop. End of story. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Another one of the highlights from last night's debate. Again, Pence just did a phenomenal job. Did we not say, right? Didn't we cover this on the show the other day when you and I addressed it in the beginning? She doesn't want me to stop turning my neck. I got to stop. That's just instinct for me. But I said to you, don't sleep on Mike Pence. We covered that Wall Street Journal story where everybody oh, shucks, Mike Pence, Midwestern guy, Kamala Harris, this big city, San Francisco prosecutor. She's going to eat Pence alive. I told you. The Wall Street Journal nailed it. We discussed it yesterday on yesterday's show. Do not sleep on Mike Pence. Pence is a skilled debater, a brilliant guy, a principled guy who has been through the back and forth before. He destroyed Kamala Harris last night. Any objective observer saw it. Let's not play games. Here's highlight number 2 of last night's debate. Folks, one of the things that's really bothered me, and I feel open to say it now. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I will anyway. I was invited up early to hear the vice president's plan and the president's plan about the coronavirus when it first came onto our shores. I was invited up to the White House. I heard from the vice president direct in a small room. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone telling you, that the president and the vice president weren't on top of this early and didn't realize the severity of the situation, I don't care who it is lying to you. I was up there early. I heard it from his mouth, straight from the vice president himself. I was probably 3 feet away from him at the time. Don't tell me they didn't take it seriously. They laid out the plan, what they were going to do, and they implemented it. They were following overseas in detail transmission rates. They were implementing a logistics chain for PPE. And most importantly, something I said on Fox, and I'll say again here, which is rarely, if ever, covered, and I think you're only going to hear it here, but you need to hear it. The former administrations, both Obama, Bush, Clinton, otherwise, they had a different model of testing in the United States for potential pandemics. Please understand what I'm about to tell you. And the vice president, when we spoke to him, it wasn't just me, it was others. He laid out that the problem with the testing earlier was the infrastructure was set up wrong. Prior presidents and prior administrations had the CDC and others set up for a surveillance type system. In other words, they weren't set up for mass testing. Do you see the difference? Paul, I won't turn my head, but if I don't explain this well, give me like a head nod or throw something at me or something. You'll see like a paper come in the side of the screen. The system the United States was set up before was surveillance, meaning if, say, there was, God forbid, an Ebola outbreak, there would be 1 or 2 tests in a region that would go to the CDC and elsewhere. That would set off bells and whistles. They would know there was an outbreak, and they would implement some type of local quarantine. They weren't set up to test everybody all the time. That predated President Trump, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who has any experience in this arena knows what I'm telling you is true. We were not set up to test every American all the time. Trump was left with a surveillance system. When the American public, due to the severity of this virus, pushed for a mass testing system, which candidly I'm not sure was the right approach, but the president understood the fear and anxiety, they in literally months switched from a surveillance system to a mass testing system and changed the entire model. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Paul has given me a head nod. Folks, I heard this months ago. I've been trying to explain this on Fox and elsewhere on my show. It wasn't the president's fault. And when he figured out that we were just a surveillance testing model and not a model for hundreds of millions of tests, in just 3 to 4 months, they switched the whole model over and changed it to a mass testing system because that's what the public wanted. You can deny that all you want. You just don't know what you're talking about. Now, Joe Biden claims to have a coronavirus plan. This is another thing that's bothered me. If you actually read Joe Biden's coronavirus plan, it sounds awfully like Donald Trump's plan. He says things in there that Donald Trump has already done, and he acts like he made it up. We need a military person in charge of logistics to distribute vaccines and PPE. That's already happening. President Trump already appointed a military officer to do all this. We need more PPE. We already have that. There's no shortage of PPE. We need a rapid vaccine. Did he miss Operation Warp Speed? Everything Joe Biden is saying he's going to do, President Trump has already done. Ladies and gentlemen, just read the paperwork on Biden's plan. Trump has already done it. Finally, Vice President Mike Pence called Kamala Harris out on this. And this was, I think, the most devastating moment of the night. Check this out.
The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about.
Ooh, that one stung. So someone got a Band-Aid for that one may require dissolvable stitches. Believe me, I'm in a place to talk about dissolvable stitches right now. That was brutal. It is Trump's plan. So you're going to elect a guy who's running on a plan you already have in place now with the guy currently in office, and he's supposed to be some kind of change agent. The guy he's already running on Trump's plan. Did you read it? Again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. Do what you want. If you're locked in for Biden-Harris, do what you want. I'm not here to, you're all smart people. You'll figure it out. But please stop lying. There are things you can disagree with Trump about, and there are substantive differences between Biden and Trump. That's obvious. This is not one of them. Biden literally plagiarized Trump's plan, put it on his page, and acted like he made it up. And I'm glad Pence finally fought back last night. I gave you some inside baseball there. Again, I'm pretty sure now it's okay to talk about it, but I heard this early. Please stop saying the president and the vice president weren't on top of this from day one. I heard it. I was there. You're just lying and making that up. And it's really cheap and disgusting. All right, here was the plagiarism line was probably the highlight of the night for a zinger. On pure substance, I just want to say, you ever been to a Baptist church? Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen on this one? How long on this show have I been asking you, the listeners, Paula, Drew, Joe, and everyone? I've been saying it over and over. When is someone finally going to call out Biden-Harris? When are they going to call them out on their tax hiking plan? Just to be crystal clear on this, Joe Biden has pledged multiple times, as is Kamala Harris, to repeal the Trump tax cuts. The Trump tax cuts were tax cuts for every income bracket, meaning if you are in the middle class, that's an income bracket for liberals listening, you got a tax cut. Do you want to know the rates? I'll give you the rates. If you were in the 25% bracket, that's like the upper middle class, your rate was cut to 22%. Your rate was 25% of your income. It went down to 22%. For the liberals listening, that's a 3 percentage point cut. That means thousands of dollars a year were cut in your taxes. That's just a fact. I'm not interested in your opinion on it. If you want dopey time, do it on your own time, not on my show. You can look it up on the internet yourself. Just go and put in a search engine, Trump tax cuts and new rates, okay? If you're too stupid to do that, that's your problem. The lower middle class, your tax rate was 15% of your income. Trump cut it to 12%. That's another 3 percentage point cut. Biden has pledged over and over to get rid of those tax cuts, meaning if you are the middle class, the lower middle class, the mid-middle class, or the upper middle class, your income taxes are going up by 3 percentage points of your income, which means likely thousands of dollars. I'm really sorry that's a fact, that facts bother you, if they bother you. I'm just giving you the truth. If the truth hurts, then really go read fiction novels. I'm sure there's some Stephen King book out there you'd like, but this is the hard reality. Finally, Mike Pence, I've been begging everyone associated with the Trump campaign to finally call them out on this. Amen. Last night, Mike Pence just annihilated Kamala Harris on this very question, and she looks absolutely clueless. You want to talk about getting wrecked? Check this out.
21 is going to be the biggest economic year in the history of this country.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Senator Harris?
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last week's debate, but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year.
That is,
Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he
tax
only
bill-
cutting? Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000.
She's lying. She's lying. I mean, she's lying. She knows she's lying. And here's a little trick I need you to know about Kamala Harris. Whenever she gets caught lying, she says, let's have a conversation about it. She does it all the time. Put in a search engine, Kamala Harris, let's have a conversation. Anytime she's caught in a lie, she says, let's have a conversation. So again, I'm going to leave it with this because you're all very smart people. I mean that. Even the liberals that listen, some of you get it. I've had some good back and forth with you all on social media and on email. To the decent ones. The losers, you hard pass on you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of those. But, that's a part of being a liberal. You're the loser thing is just you kind of like embrace it, hug it. Folks, if you want your taxes to go up and you are a middle-class earner in the United States, then Biden-Harris is your ticket. If you don't want your taxes to go up, then Trump and Pence are your ticket. It's really that simple. Your taxes are going up if Biden's the president. I don't care what income bracket you're in. The Trump tax cuts will be repealed, which means your taxes are going up. It's a matter of simple mathematical certainty. Your taxes are going up a minimum of 3 percentage points. Meaning if you make $50,000 a year, you're going to be paying over $1,000 more in taxes a year. It's just a fact. If that's what you want, then yes, vote for Biden-Harris.